Okay, so we've got about 15 or 20 minutes to talk a little bit about the future customer or the future consumer. So what I was asked to talk about is what are the future needs and beliefs and values and behaviours of the consumer so that we can get ahead and we can plan a little. I completely agree about the sort of 3 to 5 year window. That's not really that helpful. So we are going to look about 10 years beyond. We can see signals. There are always pockets of the future in the present. We can see some signals of change. I'm going to try and call some of those out for you in the next 15 to 20 minutes. I haven't got a massive amount of time, so I'm going to try and get through as much as possible. But the first thing I wanted to do was just contextualize it a bit. What is the biggest trend? What is the biggest shift that is happening that is affecting the consumer and is also reflecting the consumer? Is that we are in the shift from services to experiences, of course, as you, particularly in your industry, know all too well. And we're very familiar with this sort of thought if you are a reader of the experience economy and you're familiar with that. So as the economy evolves, our values change and services are time well saved, while experiences are time well spent. People are after experiences now. Why is that? Well, we've become very used to convenience. I'll talk about that in a minute. We've got lots of efficiency. We've got lots of automation in our everyday lives. Services have almost become a hygiene factor, and people are searching for something much more fulfilling, much more purposeful and meaningful. So we're going to delve into that a little bit, because the question is, what kind of experiences will those be? And I believe that for you, in particular in your industry, there are going to be 3 sets of experiences that you're just not going to be able to ignore. I mean, they're here already. Sorry, can you tell me what's happened to my slide? I'm going to talk about revelation and surprise in a minute, actually. So the first one is authentic experiences. The second one is augmented experiences, and I'm going to pick up on some of the themes that Chris just touched on, actually, which is around holistic experiences. So firstly, authentic experiences. What do I mean by that? Well, as I just suggested, we've become very used to convenience. In fact, we're sort of worshipping at the altar of convenience now. Convenience is the killer app, and it has been for quite a while, certainly since the internet came along. And Uber, of course, was the poster child for that, and that's all now crumbling. I'm not an Uber user, so I feel quite virtuous. But convenience has been such a driver of demand that we've been willing to overlook, issues of morality, ethics, even our own privacy. I think that is changing. I know that is changing, and I call out Uber because I think that is the most mainstream and obvious, visible sign of change. We have realized that the algorithms are feeding us things that are very relevant, but also things that are increasingly just similar and the same. And actually, they're filtering out of our everyday lives, whether that be news, entertainment, communication, whatever. They're filtering out a sense of surprise and discovery, a sense of exploration. And we are on a journey now to sort of reacquaint ourselves with some of those elements, I think. I think this puts it quite nicely, because if everything's relevant, then nothing's unexpected. And if nothing's unexpected, then nothing surprises you. And if nothing surprises you, then that's a strange, neutralized, vanilla kind of life, isn't it? And unfortunately, that is a kind of life that some of us are living online now. So we're trying to right that wrong and reintroduce elements of the unknown into lots of experiences now. We want to feel surprised and alive. There is a company called Surprise Industries. I'd suggest to you that it's an entire industry that's going to grow, but there is one company called Surprise Industries who say they take surprise seriously, because surprise intensifies our emotions, creates memorable experiences, and makes us feel more alive. I think this is a real truth. We feel most comfortable when things are certain, but we feel most alive when they are not. And that's Tanya Luna, who's got a great TED Talk that you can check out online, actually. And she's the founder of Surprise Industries. And she calls herself a surpriseologist. So if you thought my title was mad, that's even braver. And what they do is they help other products and brands and businesses integrate into their businesses an element of surprise. But they're also reaching out to consumers. And for £3 a month, they will do something surprising for you. You don't know what it is. You don't know if it will come through the post. You have no idea, but that is the whole point. It's a surprise. And here we are, reintroducing this element, whether it's the Flaneur magazine, which, focuses on one street per issue, and unpacks all of that in lots of different ways, lots of different angles, or whether it's Dabble, which is online, where you can access lessons in your local area if you want to discover something new and exciting. This is a whole industry that's reawakening, if you like, because it's going to make experiences much more memorable. And I thought I'd just share with you this video. Does anybody know the app, Detour? Okay, I'll just show you this because I think this really brings it to life.
Are you ready to explore? Then put your phone in your pocket and let's go. Most people are looking at the stuff on the right, but we're headed left. I'm going to take you where the tourists don't go. Today, we won't be shackled to a tour group. We'll be on your schedule at your pace. Our eyes won't be glued to guidebooks or gadgets. Just keep your eyes open and follow my lead. We'll walk down back alleys and push through secret passageways to where the real heart of this city beats. You'll get to walk in someone else's shoes, like a fisherman who's been coming here every day since before you were born.
When I first came down here, some old Italian guys took me under their wing. They showed me how to fish and saved my life at least once.
Bring friends if you want. We'll listen together. I'll point out wonder in the seemingly mundane. We'll peel back layers of history, as if the walls could talk. I'll take you inside strange and magical places and tell you the backstories that bring them to life. Whether you're a visitor or you've lived here your whole life, I'll show you the needle in the haystack you might not otherwise find. You'll have plenty of time to explore along the way, and wherever you go, I'll be here to guide you. Introducing Detour. Stories that take you places.
Yes, so finding the wonder in the mundane, real people, real places, is a return to authenticity through a sense of discovery. And also, there is a re-emergence, a rekindling of the need for a feeling of a sense of place, a sense of rootedness, groundedness. We've seen it a lot in the politics, but this is also the case socially and culturally. People feel in an increasingly globalized and potentially homogenized world with borderless connectivity that they need to root themselves. And you can do this, obviously, through leveraging a sense of localness or locality. I just used the Lo and Behold group here as an example, which you can read the chart. But whilst you're reading this, I'll just tell you that a couple of weeks ago when I was at a meeting, there was a guy, Cameron Sinclair from Airbnb, who runs I think they call it the Social Innovation and Community Development team. And he was talking about, obviously, how they're expanding beyond just offering space and working with hosts to facilitate a stay in a place. They're actually trying to leverage the local community by offering guests access to experiences, educational experiences in particular, that are facilitated by people in the local community. So whether you want to learn about the local cuisine, go to a restaurant, be taught to cook, or whether it's dance lessons or some kind of craft, whatever it is, they are hoping to work with the local community, which will obviously help their livelihoods, but give whoever is staying in that place more of a sense of place. So, augmented experiences. When you've got something that already feels authentic and real, there is a tendency to want to improve on that, if you like. So the second experience I think we're going to see much more of is augmented experiences. Now, this all starts with personal assistants. Who's got a digital personal assistant in their home? Really? Come on. Digital personal assistants, the forecast for the sales for this year are 25 million units. Now, you might not think that's that big a deal, but last year it was only 6 million. So this is moving really, really fast now. So the likes of Google Home, Alexa, etc. Who is it? It's the battle for the home. Who can own the home? But the point about the home is that we are living a really sort of connected living space at home now, where we're asking digital assistants to do everything from sort of open the curtains, put the music on, notify us about what's in their calendars, potentially very soon doing the shopping, mostly on Amazon, for us and on behalf of us. Now, if we're living in a connected way like that at home, we're going to expect it when we're away from home. So increasingly, expectations are going to be one of a connected space. And assistance is becoming much more intuitive, much more instinctive, much more invisible because of some of these devices. Has anybody been to the Hena Hotel in Japan? No? Well, I suggest if you're not up for a physical visit, go onto YouTube and have a look at the video there. So this is the Hena Hotel, or the Strange Hotel, in Japan, very appropriately named. It's next to the Tokyo Disney Resort, and their aim is to make it the most efficient hotel in the world. It's almost entirely staffed by robots. I think there are 7 human beings there. But their ambition is also to build another 100 of these hotels. And they've got all sorts of connectivity, like facial recognition. So you've got a keyless stay. There's bots in the rooms that will carry out whatever you want to ask them to do. We'll get onto that in a minute. There is a robot check-in, robot cloakroom, and they suggest that mechanic yet somehow human, those fun moments with robots will warm your heart. I'm not sure being checked in by a robotic dinosaur is that warming and affectionate. But you can see what they're trying to do. Go and have a look at the video yourself. I think the thing is, one can be cynical about this and think we can't be affectionate towards robots and automated systems, and they won't be affectionate back. But things are changing. In a Nesta study, only last year, they found that 26% of 18 to 34-year-olds would happily date a humanoid robot. And Alexa has already had, by the end of last year, she'd already had 250,000 marriage proposals. So things are changing on the empathy front with automation, robotics, and AI. If you don't believe me, take a look at this. So there's that. Only in Japan, you'll say, but no, not only in Japan, it will happen. Interestingly, Gartner made a forecast last year that by 2020, the average adult would be communicating with bots more than they would with their own spouse on a day-to-day level, so there's the upside. But we're not just looking to augment things outside of ourselves in our physical environment and help with that. We're looking to augment ourselves. We are now in the search for experiences that are literally at a molecular level. So this is a bit of fun, isn't it? This is technology we're already using to analyze and monitor ourselves. We're using that data in lots of ways to increase our personalization. This, DNA Unwrapped, which invites you to discover your roots and wings, asks you to start your adventure by analyzing your own DNA and then uncover your heritage and DNA origins and travel to those places. You can also give this as a gift for as little as £350 to someone you love so they can start their own DNA journey. I mean, the point here is we're used to DNA profiling to drive nutritional recommendations. Will it in future drive travel recommendations? Which brings me on to the virtual and personal, the virtual world that is personal, really. So even in the last 24 hours, we've heard that Facebook now have an ambition to have 1 billion users in VR. Now, I think that's really interesting. So VR is moving from a kind of fad, to short-term fad, if you like, to a long-term future, because also the announcement said that they were going to sell the Oculus Rift at $199. That is incredibly affordable. So I know you've got a session on this afternoon, so I'm not going to talk about this in too much detail. I'm just going to point out that this is now going to be a competitive market. It isn't that you have to go and physically travel to somewhere. You're going to be able to travel there in your mind. Talking of minds, I want to pick up on something Chris was just saying, holistic experiences. This is the third of the types of experiences that I think are going to define and redefine the future, particularly for your industry. The wellness economy is already here. It's huge, and it has moved from, health and well-being has moved from being a sort of interesting consumer need to a real commercial driver now. So consumers are thinking all the time about the connection between health, body, mind, and soul. And they're looking for products and services and experiences that are going to facilitate that. And they're looking to move out of their sort of repertoire, products and services and experiences that don't. So you might not think you're in the health and well-being space. Everybody will be, because every single product and service is going to have to embed and integrate this into them. And as you can see, some of the forecasts, the economic forecasts for this are huge. So these emerging values around health and well-being came with the millennials, around their value system, but actually it's really taking off with Gen Z. So Gen Z are a cohort or a group who are at the moment in the sort of 7 to 22-year-old age bracket. So at the top ends of that, 21, 22, they're coming out of university, and very soon they're going to be in the workforce. They are going to be in influential positions, and they're going to be in positions of authority. And they're bringing with them all of these values about how important it is to be at your peak physical fitness. Now, much of that is driven by social media, of course, because they are always on display, and they're very aware of that. But it's also driven by really a want and a desire to look after their mental well-being. And we've seen a lot of that being discussed in the last week, of course, with Mental Health Awareness Week. Again, that is partly down to social media. There is a huge amount of anxiety, information overload, and people are finding it, particularly this generation, quite hard to cope with. Anyway, they're aware of it. Because they need to cope with it, they put coping mechanisms in, and they are much more aware of their own health and well-being, and will take rest times, and other times will do their utmost to be incredibly fit and active. Here's an example of what's happening.
Come on, man, you're late. Get. Oh, drop that low. Let's go. Drop that low.
Cut the video. I'm not going to play it again. We're going to cut the video because the point I wanted to make is the Ministry of Sound used to be about clubbing, and now it's a gym. So between 6:45 and 8 o'clock at night, that's what you do. It's a kind of combination of those two cultures, but it's very important. And the drinks they serve, yes, are alcoholic, but it's all protein shakes and juices and coffee. That is what is happening. And the point I wanted to make is that it used to be, for oldies like me, Gen X, it used to be drink, alcohol, booze. That was what was at the centre of a social occasion. It isn't that anymore. It's health and fitness. And it's a really important point. And it's partly why we're seeing such a massive decline in alcohol consumption in developed markets. Socialising increasingly revolves around fitness rather than drinking. It is that mind, body, and soul awareness. And I would just call out things like wellville.com, which is virtual, but they call it a healthy fun club that you can go and visit, where they are saying nightclubs are dead. And we've seen a decline in nightclubs, but they're reinventing themselves as fitness clubs. So equally, there's a recognition that sleep is now the new 21st century rarity. We just saw a report only a couple of weeks ago about how sleep deprived we are in the modern world. So the sleep industry is massively on the increase, and that, again, is to be seen in the context, the overall context of the wellness market. So from activewear to sleepwear, new fabrics are being used, embedded, like this bioceramic materials, and we should really think about putting those into sort of hotel and hospitality environments as well. So my final point then is one that actually Chris sort of started to talk about, which is mood journeys. So with all this tracking and analysing and monitoring, not just of our physical performance, but also our emotional performance, we're becoming much more aware of our feelings and emotions, but we're able to measure and monitor them too. Already there are 1.7 billion tracking devices out there on the market. And it's this increased use of analytics that is going to enable us to completely alter and redesign the customer journey. So if you look at something like Bentley, a brand or a business like Bentley, okay, they're in the luxury market, but they are reinventing their customer journey, not plotting the behaviors of customers and clients, plotting their emotions and their moods. And they are looking to talk to customers in the right way, at the right time, depending on their feelings, dependent on their emotional mood. And so all of this emotional data through new technologies is going to allow us to monetize feelings. And the first place we're going to see it probably is retail. So there's Uniqlo, there's the Finery, I've chosen the department store for the mind here. They are not ranging their products by price or designer. They're ranging their products by mood. And actually, it's becoming quite successful. And as they say, they have things. You can find things for every state of mind. And this is moving fast now with effective computing, Lightwave, Emotion, all being bought by the big platforms. We're now going to see our media consumption analysed at an emotional level, and also our retailing consumption and purchases and our whole customer journey. So, just to leave with, I'm sure we can send these to you later, but just if we were going to think about the hotel of the future and make a hotel with the future in mind, we would think about rediscovering a sense of discovery, plan to include those elements of surprises. We'd be thinking about taking people on a detour. Imagine them wandering around your space, not you shoving them from A to B in the most efficient manner possible. Find new ways to introduce a local community and create a sense of place even. Deliberately design either a human, an automated, or a blended service for people to experience. Don't just let it happen by accident. It's going to have to be really quite deliberately designed. Optimize a guest experience at a molecular level. Is that food? Is it travel? Is it family history? Start exploring virtual tourism. Now, as competition grows exponentially through these new realities, if you haven't looked at Infinity House, which is a virtual hotel spa space, go and check that one out. What would you do if you thought you were in the wellness economy? You are. So, gyms, spas, think more spas than bars. They will need redesigning for the emerging social wellness trend. And finally, big data. Big data isn't big data unless it includes mood data. So let's redesign some of those customer journeys and put feelings and emotions and moods at the heart of it. That's me. Thank you very much.